morning, everybody. How's it going?
Morning.
I turned on the Facebook Live video early this morning because it's so beautiful out today, and we're hoping that you can guess where we are. So if you've tuned in early, thank you for being with us. We're going to get started seining in just a few minutes. We want to make sure we start at 10. But in the meantime, I gave you a 360-degree view. Where are we? Take a guess where we are. This is Barnegat Bay, in case you needed a clue. Can anyone guess where we are? We've got Marsh off to our left, and we have a forest to our rear, and we're looking at Barnegat Bay ahead of us. You're looking northeast right now, and the barrier island is straight across the bay. And now you're looking southeast. Ooh. No guesses as to where we are? Oh, I think we stumped the crowd today. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to virtual seining session number 5. We're going to get started here in just a second. We'd like to wait till 10 o'clock so that if in case anyone wants to tune in, they have a second to do that. No guesses. Can I give you another clue? We're definitely still in Ocean County because all of Barnegat Bay is within the borders of Ocean County. We're in the northern part of the bay today, if that helps any. Oh, I got a guess from Valerie. Kettle Creek. No, Valerie, we're not at Kettle Creek. We're south of Kettle Creek. But that's a really good guess because we're not terribly far from there. So we're south of Kettle Creek. We're north of Barnegat Inlet. Let me see if I can think of another clue to give you. We're in a pretty big town. We're not in a very small town, and we're looking at Barnegat Bay proper in front of us. We're not on the river. We're looking across to the barrier island across from us. I guess this spot's more unknown than I anticipated. I will reveal at 10 o'clock where we are, but in case, Caddis Island, you are getting warmer, Valerie. You are so much warmer than you were before. Caddis is very close to us right now. As a matter of fact, it's just north of that point right there that you're looking at. If I took the camera off the tripod and walked with it, which I will do in a few minutes, you will see Caddis around the side of the point there. So it's not quite Caddis. We're just south of Caddis. Uh-oh. I'm going to reveal this like beautiful little spot no one knows about. And then you're all going to... No. Shelter Cove Beach. Nice job, Matt. Yes, we are at Shelter Cove. All right. You got it before 10 o'clock. Nice job, Save Barnegat Bay viewers. Awesome. So yes, we are at Shelter Cove Beach in Toms River. So if you turn right... right before the Four Seasons Diner on Fisher Boulevard, there's this beautiful little beach, and there's lifeguards, so you can come swimming here. Hi, Martha. Good to see you. Hi, RJ. If you come to the end of that road, there's this beautiful little bay beach, and we're going to try seining here today. We are so excited to seine because we already found some goodies that we're excited to share with you. It's 2 minutes till. We've got 11 people on, so I'm going to break my rule and I want to get started. So for those of you who can just hear my voice, my name is Grace Ann Taylor. I'm the Education Outreach Coordinator at Save Barnegat Bay. And Kevin's here with me. Kevin's a volunteer. And I'm going to actually not seine first because we found some really cool things that we want to show you. And I'm going to walk with the camera because we were walking to scout our area and we saw some really cool specimens that we want to show you. So this is Barnegat Bay proper. Oop, there's fish in the water. One of these days they're going to make GoPro able to stream live, and if they can do that, I will then show you under the water live. But I haven't figured out how to do that with my cell phone quite yet. So we're walking in the water now. I'm walking along the shoreline. What you're looking at in front of you is the invasive Phragmites. It is a tall, reedy plant that has rhizomes that run left to right beneath the soil, and that's what you're seeing kind of at the edge of the water line there. And the tide is high right now. We did check it. Oh no! I think my specimens are gone. Oh, darn it. I saw right here before we got started mating blue crabs. They were holding on to each other on the edge of the Phragmites rhizomes, which was so cool to see. And I was like, no, don't touch them, leave them, because I wanted to show you. So they're gone. Or they've moved or walked or something. I was kind of hoping they would stay where they were because we didn't disturb them. Alright. Unless I just missed them, which is possible. Anyway, so I will show you what I walked over here to show you in the first place. So what you're looking at ahead of you is the marsh. And I love talking about the marsh because it is unique to our lagoonal estuary. Our lagoonal estuary is really shallow. It's only about 6 feet deep on average. And so the marsh serves as a big filter, a way for all of the water and the high tides to filter out dead and decaying matter out of the Barnegat Bay. So the tides bring the matter up onto the marsh, and then the marsh processes it through all of these amazing, diverse plants that are lush and green this season. Oops, I just kicked something. So all of these plants are lush and green, and they're really, really productive. So if you were here, you'd be able to smell that earthy smell that some people don't like the smell of a marsh because they think it smells, they don't like the way it smells. I love the way marsh smells. But it's just that recycling of all the detritus is recycling into the nutrients of these plants, and then the marsh grows and accretes soil, or subaqueous soil and mud and all this stuff, and then these plants grow higher and higher and more soil accretes. And so that's how a marsh grows. And then the edges of the marsh sometimes erode, and a lot of times in Barnegat Bay we're seeing that marsh erodes too fast and for reasons that are not necessarily natural. So sometimes it's storm activity, and sometimes it's actually just wind and boats. So wind and boats cause waves, obviously, and the waves repeatedly hitting the edge of our shoreline can cause a lot of erosion. So it's high tide right now, and it's kind of hard for me to show you, but there is kind of this erosion right beneath the water of this marsh edge right here. And Martha, if you're still watching, she can probably tell us a lot about this marsh, or at least a marsh nearby, because Barnegat Bay Partnership does a lot of research on marsh health, marsh restoration, and all kinds of things to do with marsh erosion. They have a program going on right now called Paddle for the Edge, and they are sending citizen scientists out to monitor the edges of our marsh from kayak, taking pictures and taking notes to try and understand where we're seeing more erosion and where we're seeing more healthy, stable marsh. So a stable marsh edge will tend to have mussels and living things kind of in the edge of the marsh. I don't really see a lot of mussels here. I don't really see any, and that could be for a few reasons. Obviously, there's lots of different reasons why things are or are not the way they are. It could be salinity. We are north in the bay where the salinity is lower. It could be that I see invasive rhizomes from Phragmites. This tall grass is Phragmites. Maybe they don't like that edge. It could be because of the water quality, or it could just be because this marsh has eroded so much that they're just not here anymore. So I did want to show you this marsh edge. I had in my head that I would show you mussels today, but unfortunately there are none here. There's just Phragmites roots. Something else I can show you is the Osprey Nest, which she was flying around here a second ago. And there's her nest over there. Their nest, I shouldn't say her, because there's a couple that are in that nest. See that pole in the middle of the marsh? That's an osprey nest. Osprey are fish hawks. They're often mixed up for eagles, but they're brown and white. They're very common here in Barnegat Bay and in our salt marshes. So I could probably go on and on chit-chatting and chattering at you about all kinds of different things here, but I'm gonna head back because I know you want to watch Seining. But while I'm walking back, I wish I could show you beneath the surface of the water because it's really going to help you understand a few different things. So we've got shell bottom, which you can kind of see over here. And then over here, where you can't see beneath the water, but I can because I'm in person, there's a lot of Widgeon Grass growing. So there's two kinds of SAVs, or Sub-Aquatic Vegetation, in Barnegat Bay that are really common. We've got Eelgrass, which we talk a lot about, and we have Widgeon Grass. And so scientists right now are trying to understand the relationship between Widgeon Grass and Eelgrass and kind of trying to understand its abundance and its diversity in Barnegat Bay and how either one is affecting the other population. So I couldn't tell you which is better, but we talk a lot about eelgrass because it is a declining habitat, but we do have Widgeon Grass, which is also vegetation that roots itself to the bottom soil. And if the light's right, you might be able to see right in front of me. I don't know, maybe you can see it. It's really tall here, and it does root into the soil, which makes it a plant. And we're gonna sweep the seine net through it today because I think maybe there will be some critters living in there. So we're excited to pull the net through the Widgeon Grass and see if we catch any invertebrates and fish. Another thing to be aware of is that we are wearing clothes, or at least I am wearing boots and leggings to protect my skin because clinging jellyfish have been found in Barnegat Bay this summer by Dr. Paul Bologna up at Montclair State University. And we want to make sure that if for some reason we did find one, that we are protected, that our skin is protected. The clinging jellyfish map you can find online. It's New Jersey clinging jellyfish. It's on the DEP website. There is a map that shows they were found in the Mosquito River. They were also found at Ticey Shoal. That just means that if I'm at Shelter Cove, there is a possibility that between those two locations, we could find clingers. Now, they're considered erratic, which means they don't come in huge populations all at once. So I'm not too concerned, but I definitely want to just take a little precaution. So for those of you who are still with me, chit-chatting at you, thank you for sticking around. I see a question. I'm giving away mass made from recycled seining and fishing nets. Anyone interested? Awesome, thanks for offering. So anyone can contact that individual. But we're gonna pull the seine net now. So I abandoned Kevin. He waited patiently while I wandered into the marsh to talk with you all. So we're gonna get started seining and see what we pull. We've never seined here before, so. The crabs were gone, Kevin. They were gone. I know. a lot of something. Algae fish, and it's really heavy, so we're letting this net drain for a second. Are we good to go? Yep. Alright, I'm going to bring my Facebook over. You want to, I'll grab. So we caught mostly silver sides this first run, and we don't want to let them stay out of the water too long. Thank you for posting that, Susan. That's awesome. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, Susan just posted a little thing about Widgeon Grass from Barnegat Bay Partnership, which is not Save Barnegat Bay. We're two different organizations. We both do work on Barnegat Bay, but the partnership does a lot more science. Oh my gosh, we caught an eel! Kevin! Kevin! Eel! Oh, that was awesome! Darn it! That was live. Did you? Oh, you guys didn't see it. We caught an eel and I went running after it because I was too busy trying to adjust the camera. Darn it. We caught an eel. That was super cool. It was really big. Darn. So, as always, our trusty blue crab. Everybody. So thank you for always being patient with us as we get things and move the camera around. We got a few specimens to show you in that first run. Woo! Sorry! Hold on, hope you took your Dramamine this morning. You're coming for a ride. Hey, Eric! Alright, so hopefully you can see and hear me. We have the trusty blue crab that we always catch, which is a native crab to Barnegat Bay. I always like to grab it and show you just because it's something we all care a lot about. It is a food source for us. It's native species. I saw them breeding earlier on the edge of the marsh. I saw a male holding on to a soft female, and I didn't want to touch them because I wanted to leave them alone, and I was going to come show you when the video started, and they were gone. And that's what happens in real life. So I'll just tell you all about how cool it looked. Anyway, so we have a little juvenile blue crab. Looks to me like it is a male. And so, just in case you haven't seen one in a while, always best practice 4.5 inches from point to point on either side if you're going to harvest them and eat them. Fun fact that I've never told you before, if you do harvest blue crabs in the Barnegat Bay and then you have them up on land before you're going to bring them home to your kitchen, you don't want to leave them in a small amount of water. Weirdly enough, crabs will actually do better if you leave wet algae like sea lettuce or wet grass on top of them as opposed to putting them in a small amount of water, because they will use up all the oxygen in that slow amount of water and die, and you really want to get them home to your kitchen while they're still alive. So if you do catch blue crabs, make sure that you just put them in a basket, keep them cool, and put some wet compress or wet grass on top of them, and they'll do much better and get home and be tasty in your kitchen. Alright, I'm going to let him go. We've seen him quite a few times. Bye-bye! So we did pull up some Widgeon Grass, which I will also show you some Eelgrass if I can find some. There is definitely some here. I've seen little tiny strands of it, not much. But I want to show you the difference between Widgeon Grass and Eelgrass, which Susan Slater, thank you for commenting previously in the video. She posted Barnegat Bay Partnership's blog post about Widgeon Grass so you can understand it a little better. So this is Widgeon Grass, and so it has these roots just like the eelgrass does, and so it is a subaquatic vegetation. It is rooted in the subaqueous soil, and so it has a lot more branches. And Kevin so kindly went and got me a piece of eelgrass, and so you can see the difference. This one also has roots at the bottom. And so both of these subaquatic vegetations need to be rooted in the soil. They get their nitrogen from the soil under the water, and they both create habitat in Barnegat Bay for invertebrates and fish and other things to hide. So in this region of where we are right now here at Shelter Cove, we have a ton of Widgeon Grass, which is just a different kind of SAV. All right, so we let a large eel go, and I'm so sorry because that would have been super cool on camera. But we did find a small eel, which is so very cool to talk about because eels do a really, really long migration to get here to Barnegat Bay. So if I can find him, in here we have two long slender fish. We have a pipefish and an eel. So if I can find a way to get the one out and the other one in, I'll tell you about both. So Kevin's maneuvering jars around. We have a pipefish, which we see really frequently. The pipefish is related to the seahorse. They have that long snout. They live in subaquatic vegetation. They're very common in Barnegat Bay. Now we have an American eel. So I really want you to be able to see this because this little eel has a lot of cool characteristics. So we have adult eels. They live in the Sargasso Sea. And then what happens is they come, oh wait, okay. One of us has to hold them, one of us has to, because I'm not able to concentrate. Kevin's like pointing up and down. All right, so we have these, so the eels live in the Sargasso Sea, and then they swim up from the Sargasso Sea, up the Atlantic coast of the United States. They come into our estuaries and our bays, and then they travel even beyond that into our freshwater rivers, creeks, and streams. And on their way up, they are trying to find their way to their breeding habitat. And then when they get up into our freshwater rivers, they reproduce. And then they find their way all the way back down out of our rivers, creeks, and streams, out of our Barnegat Bay inlets, and through the huge Atlantic Ocean, and they end up in the Sargasso Sea again. So this animal has special adaptations to live in both extremely salty and extremely fresh water, which is not something a lot of animals can say. I wish you can see them up close, but Barnegat Bay Partnership also does a study on eels, and they study the juvenile eels at their, they're called glass eels, and so they are looking at their, where they're finding them, how old they're finding them, where they are, and so they set up habitat for them, and then they monitor them and re-release them. So you can also learn about the American eel on the Barnegat Bay Partnership website as well. Do you have more things to show me? Does anyone have any questions? You're always welcome to post them up on our comments here. If you have any questions while I'm talking. I'm learning to slow down. Did you put the pipefish in here for me? All right, so always a favorite of everyone, a pipefish who looks just like a seahorse. Easily, when we're seining with kids, people mix up the eel and the pipefish because they are long and slender, but they are different. So the pipefish is more of a bony fish, has bones and kind of like a skin on the outside of its body. And the eel has a much slimier texture, much smoother texture. That slime will protect them from invasive bacteria and other things. So they are different creatures. I wish I could, of course, every time they're in the jar like this, they like to swim in circles. All right, so you've seen, what do we got? Silver sides. You want to show them since they're in your hand? Always important. We always like to show you our silver sides because because they are the food chain of the bay. They are super important. There's lots of them, and they don't live out of water very long, so we try to leave them in the water. But they have that silver lateral line. They have that distinguished fluke in the back. Dorsal and ventral fins you can kind of see, kind of hard. But yeah, super common. We catch them in big schools. Anything else? All right, let's do another seine pull, see if we can catch anything interesting. Maybe we'll catch that big eel again. That'll be super cool. I'm just gonna move the camera. Okay. See, give you a different view. I don't know if you can hear it, but maybe if you can, there's willets and osprey in the marsh over to your left, and they're flying around. I think there's a nest for a willet there too, because she was very active before, warning us to walk away. And so we did, of course, because we want to respect their space. All right, let's pull another seine. We got a what?
Superstar. Everyone always likes to see in a seine net.
Oh my gosh, look at this pool.
Yeah.
Wow, all right. Let me tilt the Facebook so everyone can see what we caught. Hey everyone, thanks for still staying here. Hi Lindsay. Oh, it's so good to see you, Lindsay. We miss you. So our seine net, if you look at all the little shiny things flipping around in the net, those are silver sides.
Yep, got one already.
You got one? Mm-hmm. I got shrimp. Oh, you didn't. Oh. Darn it. Another one. I saw a stickleback. Do you really? No! Sure. Oh, and there's a shrimp in it. Let's go. Shrimp or hoppy? Everyone's escaping.
Alright.
While Kevin does a little bit of chatting about the thing that we caught, hopefully those of you who are with us will find us again.
This right here is a soft shell crab. I don't know if you can see, but when I push, you can almost see how soft it is. I'm not scared of this crab's claws because they don't bite when they're soft, but this is what happens when they mate and they shed. Grayson will tell you exactly the process of how it happens, how long it takes, and all of that. And this is going to be a male. You can tell by the bottom. The long thing looks like a lighthouse.
So what happens with the crabs is when they are juvenile, there's two stages where they're still plankton, where they're floating in the water, and so as they grow, they molt. And so there's two stages when they're really small, and then when the second stage, when they start to look like a crab but they're only the size of a grain of rice, the males will molt a bunch of times in the first year, and then they harden and then they're done. So this crab is probably on its last molt, because it's kind of looking close to size. Maybe it'll get a little bit bigger, but males tend not to molt too many times after they're full size because it takes a lot of energy. But the females will molt multiple times, and so what happens is these crabs will crawl out of their exoskeleton, which is hardening right now, and they'll use water to expand again and then re-harden. So this is the soft shell crab that you would get on a menu if you were to eat them. But we're gonna obviously let this guy go and let them re-harden and grow and become bigger and stronger so that they can reproduce. So this is kind of cool because they're soft, they can't bite me, they're kind of weak, but we'll make sure they get back in the water.
They're soft for about, what, 24 hours?
Yeah, they're soft. They're not soft for long. Obviously, predators can eat them at this time, so they definitely want to make sure they get hard much faster. This guy's agitated, so I'm going to make sure he gets back in the bucket. What else did we find? What else we got? Who's that? A pufferfish! All right, those of you who are on, I hope you're back with us now. Thank you for finding us again. We have a pufferfish, guys. Oh my gosh. Puffers are adorable and fun, and I wish that you could see him better, but the northern pufferfish is the only one that is not poisonous to eat. So they are edible, and I have eaten them. They can get much bigger than this, and these are the type of fish that when you agitate them, they inflate themselves with air. So they don't actually look like round balls like we think they do when they're swimming around. I really wish you could see him closer because they have just the cutest faces, and they are found in Barnegat Bay pretty commonly. Oh, all right, Kevin's gonna let some water out of the jar so we can see him better. Eric found us again. Oh, there we go. Awesome. All right, so see, he's starting to inflate. He's kind of agitated. Oh, baby. So there you go. So that's a northern pufferfish, and they don't have those spines. Yeah, you can put them back. I don't want to agitate him too much. So they don't have those really long spines. They're kind of, they kind of feel like sandpaper, our northern puffers. And who do we have here? Some mummy chug. All right, so we have a mummy chug, another really common salt marsh estuarine fish. You can kind of see they're kind of round. I want to...
She's most likely filled with eggs, that's why she's so round.
Okay, so that's what I was guessing. Yeah, so she is a female, and she's kind of round because she's most likely full of eggs, so she can reproduce.
And we love those fish because they're in the killifish family, mosquito larvae eaters. This time of year, everyone's grabbing their spray. Mosquito commissions around the country are grabbing fish and dragonflies and natural predators to help combat these mosquitoes that affect us in ways we don't like.
Yeah, so if you were here in person, you'd be able to see all the dragonflies that are flying around us right now. Dragonflies are predators of other insects, and so they also eat mosquitoes. And so they're good to have. You don't have to be frightened of dragonflies. They very rarely, if ever, bite humans, and they are more after the insects. So it's really good to have them flying around us because there's less mosquitoes to be concerned about, and they are a natural predator. If I thought I could catch one in the camera, I would show you, but at the risk of making you seasick, I'm gonna just keep the camera on Kevin. Do we have something else cool to show? We got a fluke, right? We have a fluke. So for those of you hungry fishermen, we all love to find fluke because it's a sign that we have juvenile fish that we will hopefully be able to see thrive in Barnegat Bay, and some will become dinner one day. So Kevin's fighting with the bucket to get them out, but we got, oh wow, cool size, beautiful fish. Here, raise your hands a little bit, so you can kind of see it's a flat fish as always, and I wish you could see the markings. Let me try to arrange the camera so you can see it. Hold on. There we go. That's a little bit better. So this fish has teeth, if you can see them. I wish you could see them. It's so hard to see. But we do know that it's a summer fluke based on the way that its mouth is facing. When they're born, their eyes are on either side of their head, and their eyes will migrate to the other side. And so they have this adaptation that helps them blend in. So if they're swimming along the bottom, they're going to be hard to see because they're kind of the color of sand. But if they're swimming at the top of the water column, they have a lighter coloring underneath, because if you were to think about a fish looking up at the surface of the water, it would be lighter colored. So this fish has the adaptation to blend in both if it's at the bottom or at the top of the water column. So kind of cool. Penguins also have that same adaptation. That's why they're black on their back and white on their bottom, to try and be camouflaged in the water column so that when predators are looking for them, it's harder for them to see those lines. Did I forget anything?
I think you did well.
I'm sure I forgot something. We want to do one more pull?
We can do that.
We want to do one more pull if those of you are still with us. Hopefully my phone stays cool enough. Doesn't feel too hot. And we'll do one more seine pull. Feel free to drop questions if you think of them while we're seining in the comments. I'll check it when I get back here. Puffer?
Yep.
Bigger one?
Same size. A couple of them now.
Oh my goodness. Ah. Oh, there they go puffing. Oh,
Yep.
little babies. right, everybody, if you're still with us, you are fabulous. Thank you for my viewers who have stuck with us this whole time. I'm gonna change the camera view so you can see them. What'd you get?
Shrimp with eggs.
Oh,
Puffers.
shrimp with eggs, couple puffers. Can you hear the osprey? So many bluefin. Oh! Beautiful.
No eel down there.
Hey everyone, if you're still with us, you are fabulous. We're always trying to be camera people and seining, so I always abandon Kevin. There goes a speedboat. Alright, so when we get on site, there's always so many things that I want to share with you because there's so many different moving parts in these habitats. It's not just the water, it's not just the maritime forest, it's not just the marsh. The water has habitat beneath it, the marsh has different habitats depending on the elevation and the distance from the tide line. The maritime forest, same thing. All of these ecosystems are all on top of each other right here, and there's just so much I can share with you because they all interact in different ways. And so I'm always a little scatterbrained, but I haven't talked anything about algae because we talked about Widgeon Grass and Eelgrass, but we haven't talked about algae. So I can't identify this algae, but I can say that it is algae based on what it looks like. And so I would like to give a shout out to Professor Z down at Stockton University. They have been doing Facebook Live videos through their marine science program. And so there was a really cool, fantastic Facebook Live video that went on. You can watch it still. It's on Stockton's Facebook page. And Dr. Z goes through the differences between algae and plants, and she identifies all the different vegetation that she found on the shoreline on an island in Beach Haven. So I highly encourage you to go watch that. But this is algae. I always like to point it out because it is a part of the ecosystem, and as you can see, there's critters living in it and all kinds of things. Well, you can't see that, but if it were in the seine net, like, that's why it took us a minute to pull it up, because it gets really heavy when it's wet when we pull it up. So yeah, algae and plants are different. You can watch other videos that we posted about that. Here is another algae. I always like to point it out. Ooh, always like to point it out because it's super common. Olvalactuca or sea lettuce. I got a little globby thing here. Not sure what that is. Kind of neat. I'll have to ask Kevin, see if he knows. Anyway, so algae doesn't have roots, doesn't have leaves, doesn't have a stem. That's how I can identify it as algae. But it does still have chlorophyll, which helps it photosynthesize or get energy from the sun. Hey, what is that? Is that a barnacle?
I do not know.
I don't know what that is.
Sort?
There's something squishy there. Squish, squish.
Anemone?
Anemone, maybe?
Possibly.
We're not sure. That's kind of neat. It's kind of squishy and soft, and it looks like if I put it in the water, it'll expand. So I'm gonna
do that.
Yeah, let's put it in the water. Let's see what it does. Oh my goodness.
Let it settle.
It's so cool looking.
There's also a shore shrimp in here if you can find it.
There's a shore shrimp in the jar that we'll show you in a second.
Yeah, it's an anemone.
It's an anemone. Cool. Can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. There's an anemone right there. See that? Tell us about an anemone.
So we have a couple different species in Barnegat Bay. This species, I can't tell exactly what it is. It'll be easier when it opens up. But they have tentacles, and that's how they feed. They have a mouth located centrally, and the food will attach to the tentacles, and then they'll bring it to that mouth, which is in the center of its body, and that's how it feeds.
Oh, there's the shrimp. You can kind of see it. So that is a really cool find.
Copepod in there as well.
There's a copepod in there.
All the little things.
Yeah, all these little tiny creatures have there's all different versions of these creatures, right? So there's a few different species of anemone in Barnegat Bay, a few different species of shrimp, different algae, different plants. But they all play a role in our ecosystem. So I always like to point them out, even if you've seen them already, because they are common and important. I love looking at that anemone. That is just so cool.
In other areas of the bay, like old jetties, they just cover the whole substrate, and it's awesome to see. If you snorkel in places, you'll see them a lot of times.
Very, very cool. So there are worms in Barnegat Bay that tend to look very much like an anemone. Sorry, the speedboat's being very rude. He's being very loud. That's okay. So anemones, and there's worms that look just like these anemones that live in the sand, and so they can be easily confused if you're not looking closely to identify them. That is just so cool. Sorry to bore you with this anemone, everybody, but I just think that is just, I don't get to see anemones that often in Barnegat Bay. So what else we got in here?
Shore shrimp filled with eggs.
Shore shrimp filled with eggs in this jar. Somehow I'm gonna find a way to show you. This round jar is great and ideal. Oh, okay, there we go. See that shore shrimp, and see all those little black things in its abdomen? Those are its eggs. And so we always like to share with you, oh, there's another little, is that the copepod or a shrimp, Kevin? Copepod? There we go. So I'm looking at it through a camera lens, so it's harder for me to see what's in there, so I have to count on Kevin to tell me what he put in the jar. But shrimp, another common organism in Barnegat Bay.
The pod was a hitchhiker, I gotta be honest.
So the copepods definitely get caught up in the algae and the subaquatic vegetation, and they are an important part of the food chain, so everything eats something smaller than it. And so if there's an abundance, they eat them, and then up and up the food chain we go. All right, did we forget anything? All right, let's check in one last time. So, as usual, thank you for being dedicated Save Barnegat Bay seining fans. We have been seining every Thursday at 10 a.m. all across Barnegat Bay to try and bring the ecosystem to you so that you can see the different things that are at the bottom. One of the things that I really wanted to tell you about, and I'll just quickly go over, is just the fact that there are different habitats at the bottom of Barnegat Bay, and this section right here of the bay in Shelter Cove actually represents quite a few of them. So we have sandy bottom, muddy bottom, shell bottom, and vegetated bottom. So there's actually a lot of different habitats that we drag the net through, and so it's kind of neat. That's why we found such a diversity of animals. We found shrimp, pufferfish, we actually found a killifish, mummy chug, silver sides, blue crabs.
You think about it too, we have
anemone.
species in every part of the water column too. We have those fluke that are right on the bottom, we have the shrimp that are in the middle, and we have those puffers that are free swimming all around. So with the algae in the water and the plants in the water, they have more cover. Last week we were at Save Barnegat Bay's headquarters. We were at Brown's Woods, totally different substrate. We weren't working as much algae or eelgrass or widgeon grass, so you can see a different load when the net comes up.
Yeah, so even though Barnegat Bay is only 6 feet deep on average, each and every layer is important. So you might think that it's not diverse, but it absolutely is. Just like a few centimeters on the marsh surface is really important to tell us the different plants that can survive there. So even very small changes are so much more important in Barnegat Bay. Oh, I thought Kevin was going to add something. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, catch us again on Thursday at 10 a.m. here on Facebook Live. I will also do a short little tidbit on Instagram so that our friends over there can see what we're up to. And keep in touch with our social media and our website pages for more virtual events coming up. In July, we're reading A Sonnet in the Sands by Gordon Hess. It's a book about Island Beach State Park and the cultural history and fishing and everything that goes on there. So tune in with us to read that book in July, and tune in again to see what we end up doing for our Meet the Author event or our book appreciation event at the end of the month. And then also stay tuned for our last month's book, which was The Bayman by Merce Ridgway, and we'll be doing an event to honor Merce and his work for the Bayman. So the Barnegat Bay Book Club is active, and we're excited to keep you engaged virtually. As always, stay well, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good day.